There we go. And welcome to another episode of the Sports Room. I'm your host for this episode, once again, Unger to the Max. And with me today are two good friends of mine who I met over the past year in my fifth year at Notre Dame College. To my left is Collin Anderson. I'll let him introduce himself a little bit more. And below me, that's just how the screens worked out, wearing a Cleveland Browns hat as well as a NASCAR Hooters race suit due to NASCAR hosting their second race at Darlington tonight. It's Chris Link. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves a little bit more?
Chris, you want to go first?
All right, you go first.
I don't know. What else to say is that I've just been a friend of Josh's. Just transferred here. I'm about to start my junior year at Notre Dame College. So it's good for you to invite me onto the show.
All right. And you, Chris?
What's up, guys? It's C-Boss Gaming here on Ungar to the Max's channel. And today we are talking sports for about an hour and a half. So let's see how that goes.
Of course you had to include your YouTube channel. Nice. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get into our primary topics for today. And of course, as we all know, right now there are no live – well, I shouldn't say there are no live sports. But for a while, there were no live sports due to this current pandemic, also called coronavirus, a.k.a. COVID-19. But in the past week, the UFC has done 3 live events, one of which was a pay-per-view, and NASCAR brought back racing on Sunday, I believe it was, correct?
Sunday, yep.
Okay. And they will be going again tonight. So which do you think has had more of an impact? The 3 live UFC events or the 1 NASCAR event that we've had so far?
Also, there was also a bunch of other sports besides those 3. It was the Bundesliga just recently continued their season in Germany, and that has also been exciting to see a live, generally something like a large sport in Germany, which that is the Bundesliga open up, which to me, I thought was the more promising sign over UFC. I mean, UFC was just doing their own thing. It was just sort of like with no people, no crowds, sort of like what the WWE is doing, except they're actually punching each other. And I don't know. I kind of see this whole situation right now of sports slowly coming back. Like we're supposed to have NHL coming back in the sometime future. MLS is about to come back in July, sometime in June. Although all of the events will be taking in Orlando, right where nearby Orlando City FC plays. And it's just a slow progress. And I'd rather not talk about like what has been the most impactful, but I just rather be hopeful of that people are slowly coming back to live sports, slowly but surely. And hopefully we'll start to see more televised games at our favorite restaurants or at home. That's why I take it. But if you ask me about whether or not UFC or the NASCAR thing, I give it UFC just for that it tried to continue amid the circumstances. It didn't shut down completely. It just fought with no people, but it continued nonetheless.
Okay.
As for me, I honestly, since I looked up like the rating, or for the ratings for like how many people were watching, there were like for the NASCAR race, it was the highest rated race since 2007, which
Really?
is not only good
I did not know that.
sport. Go on.
No, I was just saying that I didn't know that about the ratings.
Oh yeah. It was the highest, it was the most watched race since I think the 2007 Daytona 500. And not only that, it was pretty much the highest rated race in the last 2 decades. And it seemed like everyone was watching it just to watch some form of live sports come back on cable television.
Okay. Yeah, and I also think that the NASCAR race on Sunday was more of a blueprint for how the NBA, NHL, MLB, and NFL, the big four as we call them, could bring back their events, whereas UFC, it's just people punching each other and, using jiu-jitsu or submission games, whatever. But you can't really – I'm trying to think of how to say this. It's not really the same thing as like trying to bring back the NBA or NHL, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see. I totally see what you're saying.
I don't know. I mean, I think, in my opinion, they were trying to sort of, like I said before, try to do baby steps to that sort of thing. UFC was able to get away with just not having people there because it's a very individual sport where it's just one person versus another, and the only people you have to worry about contracting this virus was just maybe the trainer and the fighter themselves, versus the team sports, which was baseball, where you have like the players, the coaching staff, and some of the personnel trying to keep the fields like there, and that's the way they're limiting their venues to a couple of places so that they could just make sure that one site is particularly clean and under supervision, just so that they prevent another outbreak.
Right. And I mean, another reason why I'm saying NASCAR is the perfect blueprint is because it's not just two people you have to worry about. It's the drivers, the pit crew, the crew chief, and everyone that is involved with the race teams that everyone has to worry about. And seeing on Sunday how instead of like being right at the pit wall when no one was coming into pit road, they were behind the pit boxes, social distancing. That's kind of a good thing.
That's interesting to hear. That's really interesting to hear that they had a system in place. I'm not surprised that they did it. I'm surprised they had a well-established system where you have like team members of like maybe like more than half a dozen of the pit crew just trying to work out like how to get a car like ready to go for when a pit stop happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear, yeah.
Yeah, my guess would be in terms of what sport will come back first and then second, third, fourth, my guess would be basketball would come back first because it seems like there's the least amount of contact there. And
I
then
agree.
baseball, then probably hockey, and then football, because you would probably agree with me in saying that football has the most amount of person-to-person contact.
Well, that's easily what is the case.
Okay, and why do you say that?
I mean, football does have the most amount of contact. There's guys tackling. Because like hockey, the only amount of contact, like man-to-man contact, is with checking and body checking at that, and I guess fighting. But with football, like you got the quarterback hands the ball off to the running back. There's tackling. And there's a lot of other like contact, like stiff arms and all that. So yeah, there's quite a bit of contact in football, and I think it's the most contact sport.
Okay. So, anybody else have any thoughts on this topic before we move on?
My question is just about some of the sports like the NBA and the NHL. We've heard some word about the NHL that they have successfully are sort of establishing a system for the playoffs. They're not continuing the season. They are going ahead to the playoffs, but instead of doing a regular playoff bracket where it's like they expanded the playing ground to 24 teams instead of the
right. I did hear about that.
And that's interesting to see. And they're picking the top 6 teams of each division from what I've been hearing. Well, how are they basing that off of? If it's by the total number of points or by the total number of the win percentage is yet to be determined. And how the bracket is going to look out, again, to be determined. So that's interesting. That'll be interesting to see to look forward. And as for the NBA, are they going directly into the playoffs, or are they going to to continue the season a little bit?
That I'm not sure of right now, actually. I'm trying to pull up the bracket. Let's see.
My iPad just won't stay propped up.
That's okay.
Okay.
All right. So I will share my screen with you so that you can. This is the proposed playoff bracket. So, these are the matchups. So, St. Louis, Vegas, Washington, and Boston would get a bye, whereas you can see the other matchups. I think the most intriguing one to me right off the bat is obviously, even though I'm a huge Blue Jackets fan, it's got to be the Battle of Pennsylvania. Come on.
It's interesting.
Right.
I thought they were going to expand the teams a little bit more, but I don't know. I guess this is good as it is for right now.
Yeah, I saw a bracket the other day that included like Chicago and I forget who the other teams were in the mix. New Jersey was in the playoffs.
Wait, I don't think Chicago would make it either way because I think Chicago's at the bottom of the Central.
Yeah, you're probably right about that one, actually.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I think that's the case.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's I'm pretty sure you're right on that one.
Because like I said before, like from what I've heard, what am I trying to say? From what I've heard is that the top, they would probably be near the bottom of the division. I thought it was going to be the top 6 teams of each division, but
that's what I thought it was.
But nothing's been made official, so we'll wait to see. And as for the NBA, it's kind of the same deal. They're just still trying to plan out to see how many teams will be included and whether or not to immediately jumpstart to the playoffs or just continue a couple of games for a couple of teams on the fringe.
Right.
So,
Chicago is literally in the bottom of the barrel for the Central Division. They are in 7th place.
Right.
Although they're not as bad as Detroit.
Dead last in the Central.
Although the Blackhawks are not as bad as the Detroit Red Wings.
No team is as bad as the Detroit Red Wings. Even Ottawa had 60-something points.
62 to be exact.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Dead Wings. Anyways, like we said before, it's just a matter of wait and see what happens. And
right.
But it'll be exciting to see, nonetheless.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all passionate hockey fans. I think that's what brought our group together. So it's unfortunate that not only the NHL season is on pause, but the AHL season got canceled because we were scheduled to go to one more Monsters game on, I believe it was March 31st, when they were going to host the Hershey Bears, which would have been fun because we could have laughed at Hershey since the Monsters swept them in 2016. But that
champs.
Yep, 2016 Calder Cup champs. Thank you, Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Hell yeah.
So, anyway, that game will be rescheduled at some point.
Right.
But anyway, moving on to our next topic. Going into 2019, the Cleveland Browns had all of these expectations. Like, they're going to win the AFC North. They're going to be a contender with the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs. And they're going to make the playoffs and, go maybe make the AFC Championship game. And, the Browns did what the Browns usually do. And
they browned.
Exactly. They fell flat on their face. So, because of that, my question is, who is most responsible for the disaster that was the 2019 Cleveland Browns? Baker Mayfield, Freddie Kitchens, or Odell Beckham Jr.?
All right, I'm going to say this. When it was the year of when the Browns under, so a couple years before the supposed hype of 2018, right after we fired Hugh Jackson, we had Greg Williams, and the Browns went on an impressive run, and it looked hopeful. So we had expectations. So the Browns had expectations of doing well coming in next year. A bunch of changes happened, including somehow Greg Williams, the most winningest coach in the Browns' history, getting fired in replace of Freddie Kitchens, and we kept around John Dorsey because he was making all these great moves, including getting Odell Beckham Jr., Olivier Vernon, and there's a third name that escapes me at the moment. But anyways, everything was looking good, but we had talent, we had experience with a couple of these players that we acquired. Things should be good to go. However, there was only one fault in the program, which I believe the blame was Freddie Kitchens himself. And I'm not saying that it's not that I blame him entirely. I would say that he was just underprepared greatly. Usually when you become a head coach, you take years and years of preparing, knowing what it is to run the offensive, being an offensive coordinator, being a running back coach or a quarterback coach. Freddie Kitchens was a running back coach, and then an offensive coordinator, and then a head coach in less than under a year.
Yeah, 6 months, I believe.
That is concerning. And it showed throughout the entirety of 2019 season. The first game against the Titans, the Browns committed the most penalties in NFL history, 18 to be exact. And we lost a game that we could have beaten. We could have beaten the Titans if we actually were disciplined. And then all those came from being the Jets and teams that were just in a more dysfunctional state, except for the win against the Bills, which kind of surprised me because the Bills.
Well, we also won against the Ravens early on in the season too.
Yeah, but we just called with our pants down somehow at one point, and it was like a one-time fling. I mean, everybody has bad games, and we didn't really do much. We also beat the Steelers, but we lost that game because Myles Garrett decided to throw his helmet onto Mason Rudolph, got him suspended. And after that game, it just went downhill. We lost a star defensive player. We couldn't beat the Arizona Cardinals, which could have been capitalized because of the O-line. The Cardinals did not have an O-line. And having Myles Garrett would have been tremendous help in getting to Kyle Murray, and that didn't happen. So,
if we had Myles Garrett during that Arizona game, he would have terrorized Kyler Murray.
And more importantly, we would have saved the Browns season. So in my honest opinion, it was the hiring of Freddie Kitchens, a coach who was not that well prepared. And now this year we've hired Stefanski, and I'm like, we should have hired him. He's been under the tutelage of Mike Zimmerman as a head coach of the Vikings for a while, a guy who takes no nonsense to any sort of approach. I mean, there was a story back then where when he heard of Bobby Petrino leaving the Atlanta Falcons, he's had some words for Bobby Petrino, calling him Howard. And I mean, he's a guy that takes no nonsense, like I said before. So I'm not saying that Stefanski is like Mike Zimmerman, but it's close.
I have to agree with your point, Collin, that Freddie Kitchens definitely was the major issue with the Browns season because, like you said, he was definitely not prepared to be a head coach. He was not ready. He was not disciplined. He didn't even give the team any discipline. We were the least disciplined team last season. And regardless of anything, it was our first team as our first season as all our weapons were all together and everything. So I knew we weren't going to be that great, but Freddie Kitchens just was the nail in the coffin.
I had expectations that the Browns would try. Like, I wanted them to at least make the playoffs. I didn't care if they won the division or won the wild card. That was my expectations for them because I personally believed that this was their very first time having true expectations, and I didn't think they were ready. Things were just too new to them. So I just said, hey, take it easy, get one game at a time, make it to the playoffs. That's a win for me. It didn't happen.
Right.
We finished under 500.
Okay.
Right. They finished a bit far under 500.
Yeah, they finished 7-9 to be exact.
No, it was 6-10 because we
You're
lost
right,
week
6-10.
17 to the Bengals.
Or week 17 to the Bengals. Right. My bad. But I think for me, the stretch that really hurt the Browns of their schedule was, I believe it was weeks 3 through 6. Yes, I know we beat the Ravens in week 4 in Baltimore, as you referenced earlier, Chris. But in the stretch that I'm talking about, you had the Sunday night game against the Rams where we could have beaten the Rams. And that would have been a high-profile win because you're at home. It's Sunday night football. You're playing the defending NFC champions. You're pretty much holding their offense in check. But on a 4th and 9, you decide to run a draw play? What? That
never works. Running a draw play on 4th and down just never works.
The only way you do that only works is in a freaking video game. That's it.
Right.
I totally agree.
And also in that game, the Browns had a chance to score a touchdown and I believe tie the game, and they had 4 chances to do it. Couldn't cash in on any of them. Not one. And I'm just like, really? That's how you're going to come out on primetime football? You're going to come out and play like that? And then you fast forward to the Monday night game at San Francisco, which I didn't like that both of the Browns' Monday night games last season were on the road, but that's a different story for a different day.
Right.
But it didn't even look like the Browns showed up for that game on Monday Night Football against San Francisco. The 49ers just ran all over them.
I mean,
go
ahead.
And Nick Bosa just said, "Oh, hi, Baker Mayfield. Remember when you planted your flag in the middle of my field? Well, I'm going to do the same thing to you."
Yeah, he planted his dominance over Baker Mayfield that game.
Oh, yeah.
For me, the game that just sort of set the narrative for the Browns this season was just that first week. It's sort of like, it's like imagine you have a firework. You're ready to launch it, and you don't care if it goes off as a big. You expect it to go off big, but all I saw that first week was a dud, and I just said, "Oh my god, if we can't discipline that game against the Titans." A team that had just had Derrick Henry as a cheat code, and that was pretty much it, then we're not going to be able to stop. It just became bad. It didn't matter. Like, I'm not saying that the Titans were a terrible team, but it's just that we were undisciplined. And
the Titans proved they weren't a bad team because they made it all the way to the AFC Championship.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, And the team that kind of just knew that it was over was when we couldn't really do anything against the Cardinals.
You mean late in the season? I think that game was like week 15 or something.
Week 15, when there were a couple games that could have mattered.
Right, like that week 9 game, I believe it was at Denver. How do you lose to an undrafted rookie?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
On the road. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I'd like to say something about Derrick Henry real quick.
No problem.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you guys know how in the original Tecmo Bowl, Bo Jackson was pretty much untackleable? That's how Derrick Henry was last season. He was the equivalent of Tecmo Bowl Bo Jackson.
All right.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, because of how badly Derrick Henry ran all over the Ravens last season, specifically in the middle of their defense. I don't know if you guys saw this, but during the draft, that specifically was the area that Baltimore addressed. Like, that's why they drafted Patrick Queen. That's why they drafted several of the other defensive linemen and linebackers that they did in order to try and, be better prepared for a run-heavy deep offense, like what Tennessee has.
Which I will mark as pretty interesting because no one else in the AFC North is run heavy, which is why the Ravens don't have a run heavy defense because no one else in the AFC North is a run heavy offense.
True.
Well, I mean, the Browns could be a run heavy offense if they choose to use Nick Chubb and
Kareem
Hunt.
More like, in fact, I would. Browns should have been a run offense because of that 1-2 combo, and then to switch it up with the pass of like Baker Mayfield off to the wide receivers of Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, just to catch this off guard. Because if they're
and who's our third option receiver?
Receiver. I think
I want to say Callahan.
No, Antonio Callaway got released.
Oh,
because of drug issues.
Right, but we had another receiver that we just re-signed.
I think, isn't that Rashard Higgins?
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, Higgins. We also just re-signed Dontrell Hilliard to be our third string running back.
Oh, that's good. That's good. We could use more runners.
So we're talking about the AFC North in general. And, I don't think it's going to be the best division in football. Because I think that we
haven't been the best division in football since 2014 when 3 of our teams made the playoffs.
Correct. But anyway, I think the NFC West is going to be the best division in football by far. But I'm going to say that the AFC North will be the most interesting division in football. Again, not the best division in football, but the most interesting division in football. Think about this. In Cincinnati, you have a second-year coach in what's his name?
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor, thank you. With a rookie quarterback in Joe Burrow. In Cleveland, you have a first-year head coach with a third-year quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who we don't really know who he is. Is he the quarterback that we saw in 2018 who just lit the place on fire? Or is he the quarterback in 2019
who got lit on fire?
Right, and couldn't always throw a beach ball into the ocean if he was standing right next to it. So,
great analogy.
Yeah, we don't know who Baker Mayfield is. And then in Pittsburgh, you have a veteran head coach in Mike Tomlin, along with a veteran quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger, but he's coming off of elbow surgery, and we're not so sure about their backup quarterbacks with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. And then, of course, in Baltimore, you have John Harbaugh, the veteran head coach, and the reigning MVP in Lamar Jackson, who's also going into his third year. So, based off that alone, I think that makes it the most interesting division. What were you going to say, Colin?
I'm going to actually, it's not that important. Just a hot take about Lamar Jackson.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think he's look, I seen a guy like him at the University of Arizona a couple years ago.
Okay.
And people, he was good for, we had a quarterback named Collin Tate who was who lit the Pac-12 on fire with this run game and broke the college football record for most rushing touchdowns in a game for 1 year. And then they basically turned him into something that he was not, and he became completely invisible. And then the Arizona Wildcats got humiliated by the rivals of the ASU. So what I'm going to say is that what I could compare to Collin Tate to Lamar Jackson is that Clinton was good until people figured him out. What I saw at that game when the Ravens played against the Titans was the same scenario where the Titans had figured out the Rubik's Cube of Lamar Jackson. And my fear is that if Lamar Jackson doesn't actually scramble the Rubik's Cube, more and more teams are going to figure him out.
Right.
Be nothing.
And it's only a matter of time before the Ravens become irrelevant.
Is he Joe Flacco levels? No.
I don't know if you can go that far to say that it's Chris to say that they're going to become irrelevant. But
I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be irrelevant.
I mean, like what happened with the 2018 season was the Chargers hadn't seen Lamar Jackson yet until they played him during the regular season. So the Chargers weren't prepared. But because the Chargers had seen him during the regular season, when they played again in Baltimore, the Chargers were like, okay, Lamar Jackson, we're taking away your best strength, which is your ability to run. Now beat us with your arm. And
we'll make you continue to pass. Yeah.
Right. And they weren't able to do that. Now, if we're talking about running the ball, we have to go back to Super Bowl 54. I'm sorry. But all San Francisco needed to do was to keep running the ball. That way their defense wouldn't have gotten tired, and it would have kept Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines. But no, Kyle Shanahan decided he wanted to be known for not one, but 2 Super Bowl blown leads.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Although I'm kind of wishing Super Bowl 51 didn't happen because my cousin David's best friend was the Falcons punter. I don't know if he's still with the Falcons, but Matt Bosher, this is a personal anecdote. This was actually really funny. So on Christmas around my sophomore year of high school, I was down in Florida, and guess who stops by on Christmas Day but Matt Bosher? And guess who got a football from his dad? Me. So we go to an empty field, and he starts punting me footballs, and they were fun to catch. I'll tell you that.
By the way, Carol Sisson from the ASC, she wanted to come on and say hello to everybody.
Oh, all right. Let her in.
No, she wrote the
comments. She just wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. She just wanted to – she wrote in the comments that no question, but she wanted to say hi.
All right. I didn't know we were taking questions either.
Like I said, I'm Josh. We have Collin and Chris on the show, and if you guys have any questions related to what we're talking about, feel free to ask them in the comment section below. Who knows, if I see your question in time, you might just get on air. So we're talking about both Super Bowl 54 and Super Bowl 51 because they both have a common denominator. Two common denominators, actually. Kyle Shanahan and running the ball. I know, the main thing was blowing the leads, but specifically with Super Bowl 51, Matt Ryan, late in the third quarter, Matt Ryan makes an amazing throw to Julio Jones. They get it. The Falcons get it to about the 22-yard line, I believe it was. And they were in position to kick a field goal.
All they should have done was kick the field goal.
End the madness.
Correct. But instead, they lose yardage thanks to a sack by the Patriots. I don't remember who specifically it was that sacked Matt Ryan. My guess is that it was either Dante Hightower or Chandler Jones.
One of those two, yeah.
Yeah, that's my guess. And the Falcons ultimately had to punt, which led to them ultimately imploding. And then you fast forward to Super Bowl 54, all San Francisco had to keep doing was run the damn football. It was working the whole game. Why'd you take it out of your running back's hands and put it in
Mostert
of Jimmy Garoppolo? Why? Somebody explain it to me.
I don't get it either. Although, fun fact about Raheem Mostert is that his first ever season or first ever game was, I think, week 17 in Cleveland against Pittsburgh. He was with the Browns. He was our kick returner.
Huh.
No way.
He was our kick returner for 1 week.
That doesn't even sound familiar, but okay.
Yeah.
No, we've had a bunch of former Browns that went to the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of Browns that went to the Super Bowl with Atlanta and New England in Super Bowl 51.
Right.
That proves you that you can take the player out of Cleveland, but you can't take Cleveland out of the player.
Very true. Very true, Colin. Very, very true.
I mean, Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator of the Browns at one point. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Maybe there's a reason why he's doing all this choking because he's because he's Cleveland.
Yeah, it makes you wonder of how the heck does Bill Belichick have a cure to being Cleveland? Yes, he was the former head coach of the.
He was a former head coach. Yeah, he was the guy that traded Bernie Kosar.
Maybe he's just neutral by being the head coach temporary of the New York Jets, and then the cure is resign on a paper napkin.
Yep, he was the coach of the Jets for exactly 1 hour.
Right, that is true. But no, if you didn't know, Bernie Kosar, somewhat pissed off Bill Belichick, and then Bill Belichick traded him to who else but the Dallas Cowboys, and he ends up winning a Super Bowl with them.
And the Cowboys will continue to believe that they are America's team, but are they? No.
I think America doesn't have a team because they're all American teams.
No, I feel like it's just like when it comes to America's team, it depends which state you live in. If you live in Florida, it depends on the state. But if you live in Maryland, you're gonna say no, Baltimore is America's team. Because
actually, despite living in Cleveland, I'm actually not going to say the Browns are America's team, so I'm going against.
Yeah, me neither.
No, the Browns haven't.
They had that chance. They had that chance.
1960s.
No, they had that. No, they had that chance the year 2018. They had a chance in 2019. It didn't happen.
Right, but I'm actually going to say that either the Green Bay Packers or the Pittsburgh Steelers are America's team.
Packers.
I agree with Packers.
I would say the Packers.
So when you have a high attendance rate in a place up north in Wisconsin, I mean, geez Louise.
And they have their own touchdown celebration, the famous Lambeau Leap.
Yeah, I know. And that logo, the symbol elongated G, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Iconic.
They stole it from the University of Georgia.
Or did Georgia steal it from Green Bay?
No,
the college came way before the NFL team. I guarantee you that.
But what year did Georgia come up with the logo?
That is true. I don't actually know that.
Yeah, well.
The Packers are called the Green Bay Packers because of the Acme Meatpacking Company.
Yep. I knew about that actually.
So, we're talking about lots of different topics, but you brought up University of Georgia. So that brings us to college football, which I have an interesting topic for. So obviously the Clemson Tigers got dismantled by LSU in the national championship last season. But before that, they had beaten Alabama twice in the national championship. And the year before, I believe it was in 2016, that game was a close game between Alabama and Clemson in the national title game, which leads me to this question. Hypothetically, if Clemson left the ACC and joined the SEC, how do you think they would do?
SEC?
Yeah, hypothetically.
So are we talking about a hypothetical season for this year or a hypothetical season of the previous year? That's the question.
Oh, good. I love it. For this upcoming season.
Okay, for this upcoming season, let's see. LSU does not have a star-studded quarterback.
You have Florida, Auburn, Alabama.
Okay, I would love to see Clemson versus Alabama again, just to see who would win.
Yeah.
I know we've had a bunch of times in the college football playoffs, but if you want to test the strength, you have to have them play. And each side, hold on.
I would love to see Clemson and Alabama play against each other in the regular season.
Oh, that'd be a great rivalry.
I think the three teams that Alabama that I think that the two teams that Clemson can't beat would have a tough time beating. I would say it's Georgia, Alabama, and maybe LSU. Just maybe.
I would also put the Florida Gators in that mix.
Maybe, but I would put money on Clemson.
Well, I wouldn't put Georgia in that mix anymore because they did just lose Jake Fromm to the NFL draft.
Yeah, he got drafted by the Buffalo Bills, which is interesting.
And Clemson is the only team in this hypothetical that still has their quarterback from last year,
Trevor Lawrence,
who I absolutely hate.
Right.
I don't know. I can't really hate players. It was just interesting to see Trevor Lawrence play, but
we all hate Brad Marchand.
Yes, that's true. Because we're all Blue Jackets fans, so we all hate the Boston Bruins. Especially
not just that. Anyone can hate the Boston Bruins because they are a dirty team, and especially Marchand. He's a dirty player.
Yeah.
Very true.
Who the hell licks a guy?
But he plays the mental game really well, though.
Yeah, he gets inside his opponent's head. He's good at that.
He's like Draymond Green, except it's a little bit more weirder when he licks people.
Draymond Green, it was weird when he kicked Steven Adams in the nuts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That is true.
And let's see. He did that can kick, right? Just right to the gonads.
He really did. It was awful.
It was. And then, he had the low blow to LeBron, which wasn't called a flagrant foul during the game, but a day or two after, the NBA comes out and goes, "Oh yeah, it actually is a flagrant foul." So
they were probably trying to lock out his action for going for the groin.
Yeah. So Warriors fans were not happy. I remember Klay Thompson in a press conference before Game 5 said something like, "Sometimes people's feelings just get hurt." And LeBron, when he heard that, he just laughed about it. But I remember when LeBron came out for warm-ups during Game 5 of the 2016 NBA Finals at Oracle, he was getting booed even during warm-ups. How often do you see that?
I remember that.
Passion. That's passion of a fan base right there.
Yes. I don't think that even when LeBron came back to Cleveland as a member of the Miami Heat,
the first time he came back, he was kind of booed pretty heavily.
Well, yeah, because of the decision.
Yeah,
but in subsequent time...
Okay. Ask me this. Who the heck decides to put on a live televised event of your decision of free agency? Kevin Durant could only dream of doing my next chapter on live television.
Right.
But it was still pretty funny to be like, yeah, I'm going to the war. Because Kevin Durant's situation was, if you can't beat him, join him. LeBron's situation was, I'm friends with Dwayne Wade. I'm friends with Chris Bosh. I need some championship experience. And Dan Gilbert isn't giving me pieces. So I'm going to go to a team that'll give me championship pieces.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, who else?
Right.
Durant had Russell Westbrook.
Daniel Gibson.
Right. But you bring up how LeBron was friends with Dwayne Wade. It actually originally was not supposed to be LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. It was
right. It was going to be Carmelo Anthony with that group.
There you go. But what happened with that is Carmelo decided to stay an extra year with the Knicks. So that threw off that whole thing. And
we'll be way more interested to see Carmelo into the mix over Chris Bosh.
Yes.
I would prefer to see Carmelo in there, and he would have gotten his ring instead of beating.
He could have gotten his ring if Detroit drafted him.
Oh, I was
of-
going to bring up that point next because you stole it, but I love that you did. Do you actually believe that if Detroit had drafted Carmelo instead of Darko, that Carmelo would be, flaunting 2 or 3 rings on his fingers right now?
Oh,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
those
time.
Detroit
Go ahead.
Pistons teams were incredible. Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups,
Don't forget my boy Tayshaun Prince.
of course.
And
Tayshaun Prince.
And also, the year that Carmelo Anthony would have been drafted would be the prime year of when the
Because that was the year the
their
Detroit Pistons won the
dynasty.
championship with Darko anyways.
Darko became a bust. Am I correct to say Darko became?
Darko was a bust no matter what.
Yeah, but except I see what you're saying, Chris. But the thing is, Carmelo, even coming out of college, wasn't considered to be a great defender. And what did that Pistons team really build itself off of? Being a great defensive team. I've heard some experts really argue, in fact, that 2004 Pistons team could be considered the best defensive team in the history of the NBA.
I totally agree with that.
Right. So if you take and Darko, yeah, he didn't score, he didn't always score 20 points in a game, but if you put him out there with Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton,
Ben Wallace as well.
Chauncey Billups. Well, I'm talking about just a 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you can throw Ben Wallace in there. Darko Milicic was a reliable defender. So that was more of his purpose on that Pistons team.
Right.
So,
and don't forget who they beat in the finals, the Kobe
Lakers.
Shaq Lakers.
Correct. So, yeah, like I said, Darko isn't always going to get you, 20 points in a game.
But he's a great defensive player.
But he was a good defensive player.
Right.
He was reliable. I'm not sure you would have done that out of Carmelo.
I think I would disagree. I don't know. I mean, it's just what made the Pistons choose Darko Milicic over Carmelo Anthony?
They probably thought that Darko fit better with what they wanted to do as a team.
Yeah, they were looking for a reliable big man over a pure scorer.
Hindsight is 2020. I would agree with that.
Yes.
But, I mean, if I were to have a crystal ball out that could see the future, I would definitely say that Carmelo Anthony could have brought them two more rings.
It's a really interesting question because on one hand you could say, yeah, the Pistons would have been better offensively, but
he was the best player with the Knicks at the time.
Well, he was originally drafted by Denver.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and J.R. Smith was drafted a year later by Denver.
Right.
Well, I know that he was originally drafted by the Mavericks, but I'm saying that he was a great player with the Knicks for what he was.
Right. He was originally drafted by the Denver Nuggets.
No, not Mavericks. I meant to say it was Nuggets.
Right.
Yeah, the Mavericks.
But
the interesting point is, if Carmelo gets multiple rings with the Pistons, then Dwayne Wade gets his rings with the Heat much later because immediately the next year after the Pistons won, the Heat won over the Mavericks.
No, that is not correct, actually.
No.
Because the Pistons beat the Lakers in the 2004 NBA Finals, and then the Spurs came back and beat the Pistons in the 2005 NBA Finals.
You're right.
And then it was Mavericks against Heat in 2006.
Right.
So, you're right though. Hindsight is 2020. So, should the Pistons have drafted Carmelo? Did they make the right decision by drafting Darko? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not even sure 100% that Carmelo Anthony is a Hall of Famer. I'm really not sure if he is.
Well, I think Carmelo Anthony for his defensive play.
No, we all know the greatest basketball player of all time is the GOAT Brian Scalabrine, the White Mamba.
Sure.
Sacramento?
I remember, he played for the Boston Celtics.
And he got a ring with them.
In 2008.
Yep, averaged 1.2 minutes a game.
Huh. But
yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah. We were robbed in 2009 because in 2009 we could have either gotten Celtics Lakers round 2 or we could have gotten Cavaliers against Lakers.
And we finally would have gotten to see LeBron versus Kobe in the finals, and we'll never see that happen.
Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. I'm actually underneath my Cavaliers sweatshirt. I'm actually wearing a Kobe Bryant Kobe Bryant t-shirt. So.
Yeah.
I still can't fathom that he's gone.
Yeah.
Neither can I.
No, yeah. We were having an interesting discussion before we started this whole thing. Was the two moves during the NFL draft between the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles with their quarterbacks.
Okay, so great transition. Which move was more surprising to you? That the Packers not only drafted Jordan Love, but that they traded up to the number 26 pick to take Jordan Love? Or was the more surprising move that the Philadelphia Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round?
I would say Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers. It's just because
I'm going to agree.
Two facts. The fact that they trade up to get a new quarterback because Aaron Rodgers was he was kind of showing a good climb, but he was in like Big Ben levels of where he looked like a slow wounded elephant moving around, and that it just looked like he had rust. Still, there's some years that Aaron Rodgers still has left, but also the fact that like on the flip side with Philadelphia, where there were years of Carson Wentz showing signs of injuries here and there, and it just made sense to get Jalen Hurts in case something terrible happens to the Carson Wentz. So, with that said, I don't mean any disrespect to Jordan Love, but it's just the fact that it's like I can't believe they did this to a guy like Aaron Rodgers, like who I consider like one of the greatest quarterbacks of this generation, next to Drew Brees and Tom Brady.
Right, and
I totally agree with that.
Right, I would argue Drew Brees is the GOAT over Tom Brady, but that's a different discussion entirely.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with that there.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I totally agree with you that Drew Brees is the greatest quarterback of all time.
But let me say this. I think that if the NFL season were to continue this year, there has to be one thing we must see. Can Tom Brady win without Bill Belichick?
Right. And,
that's inquiry.
Right. Or you could turn that around by saying, can Bill Belichick win without Tom Brady?
I think
we've seen that happen before.
We have.
Well, no.
When Tom Brady was suspended for his involvement with
Deflategate. Well, that wasn't for the entire seat. That wasn't for
It was only for 4 games, but Belichick was still able to win games with backups that weren't even tested yet.
Right, but again, like you said, that was only for 4 games, not a whole season. We haven't. In 2008,
Brady was injured for like a couple weeks.
Right. So yes, he was injured for a while because the Chiefs. I forget who it was, but some Chiefs defensive lineman ran into Tom Brady's knee and totally busted it. But we haven't we haven't seen Bill Belichick coach the Patriots without Tom Brady for a full season
Ever.
in like 20
Wait.
years.
So who was coaching Drew Bledsoe?
That I don't know.
I don't know that one either. But it's a very interesting thought, seeing like, can either win without the other. I'm not doubting Bruce Arians as a coach. He's an incredible coach. I just think that
Argument is that no, I agree. I would argue this is that if James Winston actually had his LASIK surgery, he'd be a great quarterback. But because
I wouldn't go as far as say great. I would say decent.
he led the NFL in passing yards last year.
He did.
And
That is true, although most of
and
his
had 30
did
touchdowns.
to the other team.
I don't care about the interceptions. I like not being able to see that well can affect you greatly. And I say this as a person who's nearsighted. If you cannot see that far, you're gonna be having a hard time passing the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Tom Brady, which is better than Jameis Winston, who led the league. I believe Jameis Winston led the league in interceptions last season.
Yeah.
That is correct.
But if it's definitely because of not being able to see that far, then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Although the second leader in interceptions, I think, was Baker Mayfield. Or it was either Trubisky or Mayfield that was second in interceptions.
Oh, look up. If it's Trubisky, I'm gonna laugh.
I believe
I
it
mean,
was Baker
Trubisky,
Mayfield.
we shouldn't be surprised.
Well, okay. Here's the thing with Mitch Trubisky. So the Bears traded up from the number 3 slot to the number 2 overall slot
Yeah.
to take Trubisky in the 2017 draft. And then in 2018, Trubisky goes out and, well, not just Trubisky, but the Bears in general just ran roughshod. And they won the division. Their defense was amazing. And, you know, they're hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. And, of course, we all know how that ended. Cody Parkey got run out of town thanks to the double doink. So the
Gotta
Bears
love that
end up
double
with-
doink. The
Right.
thing is that Cody Parkey in Madden 15, he was the highest rated kicker.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, also to answer your guys' question, Baker Mayfield was number 2 last year.
All right.
Got it. Like I said, Baker Mayfield couldn't throw a beach ball into the ocean if he was standing right next to it.
I love that analogy. You got to use that more often. It
I mean, it's so true, though, because
really is.
I don't know what his issue was, but there would be times where, like, instead of trying to get a quick pass or like throwing the ball out of bounds to prevent being sacked, if the pocket was breaking down, he would just be like, okay, what do I do here? What do I do here?
Right. He would just sit there and take it.
Right. When he could have possibly run for like a positive yardage of like 5 or 6 yards.
If Tom Brady can run for a touchdown, Baker Mayfield, you can run at least 10 yards for a first down with someone chasing you.
I still remember when Eli Manning ran for a touchdown against the Dolphins in London.
I mean, Eli Manning is a better runner than Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning runs about like 1 mile an hour.
Okay, wait.
Be a half.
So, I was watching NFL Films top 10 Denver Broncos of all time. Somehow Von Miller was number 10. Okay? But here's the weirder part. Somehow Peyton Manning was number 5.
Just one was John Elway?
Who I'm guessing number 1 was either Elway or Shannon Sharp.
Number 1 was Elway. Shannon Sharp was like 3 or 4, and Terrell Davis was probably number 2.
I forgot. Did you guys know that Jerry Rice was at one point a Denver Bronco? It was like very late into his career.
I did not.
Yeah, he played for them for like 1 season. I think that was the 2005 season.
But how is Von Miller number 10 when he was responsible, pretty much one-handed, the reason why the Broncos won Super Bowl 50?
Right.
And yeah, I get it. Peyton Manning played well during his time in Denver.
But let's not forget what happened just 2 years before Super Bowl 50. I know you're going to love this.
Yes, I am. Super Bowl 48, 43-8. And then, yeah, I know what happened in Super Bowl 49. I know.
We're not going to bring that up because what would be the reason to bring it up?
Right. I do have my reasoning for why the Seahawks did what they did, but that's
right.
Again, that's a different discussion for a different day.
Exactly.
But, we're talking about Super Bowls, and I think you know where this discussion is leading, Chris.
Yes, we've got to bring this up.
We have to bring this up. Okay. So Chris and I specifically have been debating this, and Collin, I definitely want to hear your opinion on this. So, what year do Super Bowl champions belong in? The year the Super Bowl happens or the year that the season starts? Take, for example, the Denver Broncos from Super Bowl 50, which we have been talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the season started in 2015, but the Super Bowl happened in 2016. So, based off of that, again, we're just talking about the Broncos for right now, but you could apply this to any Super Bowl champion, really. Should the Broncos be part of the 2016 champion class, or should the Broncos be part of the 2015 championship class? I say they should be considered the 2015 championship class.
But I say they should be the 2016 champions because the Super Bowl happened in 2016, and I have this chart that outlines all 10 champions from the 2010s, and where it says 2016 champions, the NFL champion is labeled as the Broncos, not the Patriots.
Right. So,
I think it really
what are
doesn't.
your thoughts on this, Collin?
I don't think it should matter about the year of when the Super Bowl happens. It's like the season itself, with from 2015, 2016, just that Super Bowl in 2016. It just so happens that the season started in 2015, and it takes weeks and weeks to get through the year. And when you get to 2006, throughout the winter, it just happens that Super Bowl's on 16. So it just is what it is, With Super Bowl 2016. So I'm gonna say 16.
But all I'll say with this is that if you listen to the previews for the various teams' championship films, which I like to do because, even though I'm not a fan of the Broncos or the Ravens, I'm somewhat a fan of the Giants.
I like the Giants quite a bit.
I do enjoy watching Super Bowl films. It's for some reason that's something I love to do.
Yeah.
But they cost money on iTunes, which I'm still mad about which I'm still mad at the NBA about that. But I'm not going to get into that. But when I listen to the previews, say for example the Super Bowl 47 champion Baltimore Ravens, it says on the film the 2012 Baltimore Ravens, despite the Super Bowl happening in 2013. Or if you listen to the preview for the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl 48 championship film, it says 2013 was one of the greatest years in Seahawks history. So based off that, I would put the Seahawks with the 2013 champions, so the Chicago Blackhawks, Boston Red Sox, Miami Heat, and the Seattle Seahawks, and I would include the Baltimore Ravens with the 2012 champions, which were the San Francisco Giants, Miami Heat, Los Angeles Kings, who somehow made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final against the New Jersey Devils, and the Baltimore Ravens. But I know you see it differently, correct, Chris?
Yeah, I definitely see it differently.
So explain.
This is talking about Super Bowls. This is a good transition to talk about one of the biggest, I guess you could say, superstitions in Super Bowl history, which is, why do a lot of teams wearing the away colors end up out on top?
I even have a chart to show who's won the Super Bowl. Well, Kansas City's not on this, but
It will.
Yeah. But New England was wearing, I'm not going to go through every team, but here you go. New England, away jersey. Philadelphia, home jersey. So they went against the trend a little bit. New England, away jersey. Denver Broncos, away jerseys. New England Patriots again, away jerseys. Although, who knows how legitimate that Super Bowl is because of Deflategate. Super Bowl 48, Seahawks, away jersey. Ravens, away jersey. Giants, away jersey. Packers, home jersey. So they went against the trend. Saints, away jersey. Steelers, away jersey. Giants, away jersey. Colts, away jersey. Steelers, away jersey. You get my idea.
I definitely get that idea.
So, I don't know. That you bring up an interesting point, and it's something that has always fascinated me, as you just saw with that chart. I love looking at that because I know it could be that the explanation is, well, the team in white is simply the better team. But to me, it can't be that simple because you think about it, like
Super Bowl 42, the Patriots were 16-0 and lost to the Giants, who were a wild card team.
Right. Well, the Patriots were trying to go 19-0, not 8, because they were 18-0.
Yeah, because they got 3 rounds plus 16 weeks of regular season football.
Correct.
Right.
But for me, it can't be as simple as just the team in white is better, because you think about it, so many teams and fans for that matter have superstitions that they think will help their team win. So whether it's like, I don't know, you eat a certain food before your team goes out and plays, like maybe you eat a bowl of chicken noodle soup. I don't know.
I just think that the whole jersey thing is just a bit it's a bit more randomized than it seems. It's not that I'm not saying that it's a better team. I'm just saying it's just circumstances. Like sometimes the teams don't play that well depending on the situation. There's a chance that a certain team will win. Like during Super Bowl 51, we thought it would be likely that the Atlanta Falcons were going to win it all after BH3, and then look what happened then after that.
Kyle Shanahan happened.
I know. I totally agree with that.
But still, it's like I think it's just all randomized. Like just because a team is better doesn't mean they're going to win the entire thing.
Well, have you guys ever heard of the saying "any given Sunday"?
Yeah, that is 100. With the NFL, that is 100% true because the Browns beat the Ravens in week 4 of this season, but they somehow lost at Denver to an undrafted quarterback.
Right. And we knew they were, because when you and I had made our preseason predictions for last season, we both said that they were going to lose to the Broncos because of the defense.
Yes. And I know it's too early to make playoff predictions, but you know about the new playoff format with having 7 teams in, right?
Us too.
Yeah. So as of right now, my playoff predictions are that the Chiefs are going to win the AFC West. That's a given. Well, not a given, but I mean, yeah, the Broncos are going to be an improved team, but the Chargers are kind of in flux, and we don't know what the Raiders are going to be. So,
Right.
yeah. Ravens are probably going to win the AFC North.
Unless something happens to Lamar Jackson.
Right. I have Tennessee winning the AFC South, and I have Buffalo winning the AFC East.
I can agree with all those picks.
So my 2 playoff wildcard teams are the Denver Broncos. Yes, I have the Broncos getting in. And the Cleveland Browns. The only team I would maybe consider putting in over one of those would be the Colts. But I'm not sure who I would put the Colts in place of.
Did they trade with DeAndre Hopkins and the trade with the Houston Texans and Cardinals trade change the opinion that you don't no longer think that the Houston Texans are going to be anywhere close to the wild card?
That is 100% correct. I mean, what is Bill O'Brien doing? Like, why do you trade arguably one of the best receivers in the NFL to the Arizona Cardinals for a ham sandwich? Why?
And now the NFC West is pretty much intense. You still have the Rams, which could somehow out of the blue become an offensive powerhouse, but their defense, it's a little shaky.
But they still
Aaron Donald and a bunch of scrubs.
Yes.
And but you still have the Seahawks. You still have the Cardinals now, which I could you give them a good offensive line. They have a good offense.
Right.
And then you got the 49ers who pretty much have all their pieces intact. It's just
except Jimmy. It's Rasheed Mostert, and if you neutralize that run game,
a lot of people are going to start to figure out San Francisco's run game, and it's not going to end well for them next year.
But I mean, the defense of San Francisco can do some serious damage. So that's why San Francisco are still contenders in my book, because the defense is really solid, especially the front line.
Right. Even though they traded DeForest Buckner to the Colts, they still have a solid defensive line with Nick Bosa. D Ford is still there. If only he hadn't been offside during the AFC Championship, we could have gotten Chiefs-Rams round 2. So, yeah.
And, okay, so what do you think of the NFC now?
NFC, okay. With the NFC North, I have Green Bay winning that division. NFC West, even though I'm a huge Seattle Seahawks fan, I still got to say San Francisco wins the division again. NFC South is going to be interesting, but even though Tampa Bay now has Tom Brady and they have Gronk, they have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, I'm still going to say New Orleans wins that division. NFC East, also known as the dumpster fire of the NFL, because they are the worst division in football by far.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a given.
I mean, it was shameful that the San Francisco 49ers were a wild card against actually no, they weren't the wild card. That the Seahawks who were the wild card had a better record than the Dallas Cowboys, which they were proclaimed the winners of the NFC East.
Well, actually, no, that was the Eagles that won the NFC East.
Right, it was the Eagles who won the NFC East.
Eagles?
Yes.
By one game.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep, and then the Seahawks played the Eagles, and Jadeveon Clowney hit Carson Wentz in the head, which some people call that a dirty play.
If they're calling Myles Garrett hitting Mason Rudolph in the head a dirty play.
But
it was just stupid for them to do that.
Yeah, well, both plays were stupid, but I'm not going to get into whether I agree with Jadeveon Clowney being called a dirty player or not. I don't want to start
I
that.
don't think there are any dirty players as of now in the NFL besides.
Well, I mean, is Vontaze Burfict still in the NFL?
I
don't know.
I
That's what I
believe
said.
so.
That's what I said, except for
Yeah,
Vontaze.
because if he's still in the NFL, then yeah, there is a dirty player in the NFL. And that's
You're
Vontaze
actually right
Burfict.
about that. Because Vontaze Burfict's hit on Antonio Brown could be what messed Antonio
He's a
Brown
free
up.
agent.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, good for the Bengals for finally letting someone go.
No, actually, he went over to the Raiders.
Right.
Oh, that must have been a really awkward locker room when Antonio Brown was there.
They weren't on this team at the same time.
Oh, okay, because that would have been. Oh, come on!
What?
The NASCAR race is on rain delay.
Really?
Could be postponed till tomorrow.
What?
Darn it.
What happened?
Literally every single race this season has had some form of rain delay.
The race on Sunday didn't have a rain delay.
That's the only one. The
you said
Xfinity race
every
yesterday
race.
was postponed till tomorrow. The Daytona 500 was postponed today for rain delay. The others had huge stoppages in between the race or in the middle of the race because of rain.
Mm.
Even in Arizona.
What?
Yeah, the race at Phoenix had a rain delay.
That's hilarious.
I'm not surprised.
know, right?
I'm not surprised.
I'm sorry, but that's pathetic.
I'm so
Yeah.
well, honestly.
It's
Race tours do happen in Arizona. Trust me.
Oh yeah, ISM race.
And when it rains, it pours.
Well, yeah, because Arizona is in the desert.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
the one thing is like the whole joke is like, what if you wanted to go racing, but Mother Nature said no? But yeah,
right.
all right, we should talk hockey now.
Yes, I can see that you want to talk hockey because you are wearing a Columbus Blue Jackets jersey. Your favorite player, Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Yeah.
Again, we are recording live on Facebook, so if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments. Haven't gotten any so far, but feel free to ask some questions in the comments about anything we've talked about so far. It does, even though we're transitioning to hockey, if you have a question about a previous topic that we've talked about, feel free to ask for any one of the three of us. We will be happy to answer them. Anyway, you wanted to transition to hockey.
Let's talk this 24. Well, we already started talking about the 24-team playoff bracket, but let's talk host cities.
Right.
So, who do you think is most likely to get to be a host city? Because even though multiple people have confirmed that Columbus, well, I'm hearing conflicting reports that Columbus is and Columbus isn't being considered as a host city.
I also heard that California is being considered a state for the NHL too.
Right. They're also going to be doing it by conference. So they'll have a Western Conference host city and an Eastern Conference host city.
Jeez, think of how many teams in like one city.
Mike, as of right now, New York has opened up to pro sports. I just
they
saw
have?
that, but
Wow.
Which is weird because that's like the hardest hit city by COVID-19.
correct.
Let alone the hardest hit state.
I
Yeah.
could see the Coyotes being the Western Conference host, actually.
Over Vegas? No
Yeah.
way.
Right.
We'd
But
rather have it in Phoenix.
The three main
One person
ones,
at a time.
The three main ones being thrown around are LA, Edmonton, and Vegas. I haven't heard anything about Arizona.
Huh.
Yeah. I usually don't see Glendale being I mean, actually, I take that back. it's not exactly in Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's where I could see it, but it's Glendale.
Yeah, it's just a block of ice in the desert. That's what British comedian and news host John Oliver called it. A block of ice in the desert.
So what do you call
I
it this
actually,
time?
for some reason, want to go to a Coyotes game at some point. I don't know why.
I mean, it wouldn't be bad.
It's
to
actually
go
kind of
there.
fun. The steam's kind of interesting. They actually serve poutine at the
I
game.
mean, there was a Coyotes fan that tased the mayor when he tried to move the stadium or
Yeah.
get rid of the stadium.
Wow.
But you know what's interesting with this whole NHL thing?
Well, I
just
guess
in
we
general?
can say the Coyotes have fans.
Right.
So you're saying he tased the? Oh wait, so you're saying he tased the fan?
He tased the mayor.
Wait.
Wow, what a gamer!
Please tell me, before we move on to a different aspect of NHL, please tell me more about this.
So, it was at this rally where the mayor was trying to, tear down the Coyote Stadium, and this woman was, protesting it, and she's like, this gets enough, or if I get enough support, I'm going to tase the mayor, and at a support rally for the Arizona Coyotes, she legitimately pulled out a taser and tased the mayor.
That is amazing.
Passion right there.
You
Passion.
can't make this shit up.
You can't. But
You just can't.
okay, so let's move to a different aspect of
Yeah, before we start talking about assaults on public officials.
Correct. We're not going to get into that. So we know that the NHL's latest expansion was Vegas, and of course, in their first season, they went all the way to the Stanley Cup before losing to the Washington Capitals. And so, of course, they were added to the Western Conference.
And now Seattle, also a Western Conference team, is being added to the NHL.
There you go. You took the words right out of my mouth, Collin.
Yet another Western Conference team. And this one isn't in the Central, which is the division that desperately needs another team because they're the only division without 8 teams.
Well, so here's the thing with that. Seattle is being added to the Pacific, but Arizona, will be moving to the Central Division.
Oh, man.
I don't know how that'll work.
Well,
it's going to be heck for them.
I think it'll make it easier for Arizona when they eventually move to Houston because,
it's not going to be easier no matter where they move to Houston or if they move to Arizona. They'll be playing against the St. Louis Blues, the Colorado Avalanche, the Dallas Stars,
Chicago Blackhawks.
And I'm saying those three teams because those are the teams you got to look out for.
Yeah. And I would throw the Winnipeg Jets into that mix. They've been pretty good.
They have made some success, but they're not the teams that come up to mind like the St. Louis Blues, the more recent Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche, who have been trying to keep a good check on the St. Louis Blues in the standings, and the Dallas Stars, which have a strong offensive first line.
Winnipeg.
We're talking about the St. Louis Blues.
Winnipeg did make the Western Conference Finals just 2 seasons ago and lost to Vegas.
Yeah, that was a fluke year for Vegas, though. Everything went right.
It was a fluke year for Washington too, because if they had faced anyone other than Vegas, Ovechkin still would have 0 rings. And still would not be considered a good one of the greatest players.
I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure about that. If they faced Winnipeg, I think the Caps would win.
Yeah, I agree with Collin on that one.
Yeah, but imagine if they faced a team like this year's Blues.
Right.
Last year's Blues. Oh wait, they weren't even in the playoffs. The Capitals were reaching a high offensive octane levels. They were in the right zone and
speaking of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Hey, I know where you got that hat from.
Oh my god! It's really hard seeing seeing you wearing a Vegas Golden Knights hat while wearing a Columbus Blue Jackets. It's like seeing something beautiful.
I'm William
something,
Karlsson.
like hellish. It's like I'm seeing a king of contradiction.
You are
got my joke,
pretty much
Collin.
contradicting
I'm William
yourself.
Karlsson.
Wait,
See, this is
Colin, you know what would be even funnier is if Chris was wearing his Pittsburgh Penguins Stanley Cup champion shirt and a Columbus Blue Jackets hat. That
I
would
can do the reverse of that.
oh my god, no.
Oh no.
Ugh.
Speaking of Stanley Cup champions.
Oh my god.
Okay, so
No.
where's the button do we okay.
All right, back to the serious topics at hand.
Yeah.
That was silly.
Even though this is a more professional video, you
Yeah.
gotta throw some comedy in there. Why not?
I mean,
Yeah.
comedy is what makes the world go round.
It's
All right,
not-
but you gotta do it right. Anyways, we're losing track of what we're talking about. So let's keep on.
Yeah, we need to, like-
So let's get back on track.
So, anyways, so we're talking about like how the NHL playoffs is going to be. It's going to be alike, and I think
It's
the
going to be a
top.
2014
I think that-
format, which I still don't understand how it'll get us to 2 teams.
Look at the bot. Look, here's my team. There are two. Here's what I see make it all the way.
Here's your bracket.
All right, so
Right.
I think it's going to be either like I think the teams to look out for is going to be Boston, St. Louis, Philadelphia, and the Edmonton Oilers.
I'd throw Colorado into that mix. They've been a team to watch all season.
True that.
And I think if they can get past Dallas, they can make a serious run at the Cup.
What do you guys think of the Blue Jackets first round matchup against the Islanders?
Wait, hold on.
That's a good one.
Oh, I see. Okay, so I think it's going to be hard to say because it's like Blue Jackets still have some good solid pieces, but I don't think it's enough to overcome the tactical mindset of Barry Trotz.
Yeah, even though, like, I was saying this to Chris the other day, despite Columbus being able to fully recover from injuries and all that, I still don't see it as a good matchup against the Islanders. For some reason, I just don't.
Go ahead.
I just don't. Despite all the injuries, for some reason there's just something about that matchup against the Islanders that I don't like.
Now, if it were,
Well, I mean, the only like big piece the Islanders have added has been Jean-Gabriel Pageau from the Senators. Thanks again, Eugene Melnick.
Yeah,
but like I said before, it's like it's just we don't know like how this is going to play out. Like I think the Islanders, it's just the coaching. It's been proven that time again is coaching changes things. It's not just coaching; it's also front office management. We saw that the Islanders with the change from Garth Snow to with the firing of Garth Snow and Doug White being replaced by John Torts and who is the GM of the Islanders? It's not. Does anyone know?
I don't.
I don't.
Off the top of my head.
Well, let's say it's Lou Lamero, but I'm probably wrong with that. But but the point is, it changes a team dramatically.
It does.
If you give good management. So that's why I see the Islanders making it to face against Boston, but the Boston will beat them. It'll be Boston versus Tampa.
Okay.
Boston versus Tampa. Yeah.
Unless Tampa goes forward with Cooper again.
See,
Well, I don't think Tampa is gonna choke to Toronto. I think Toronto.
We all set up. We think that they were going to choke against Columbus Blue Jackets, and look what happened. They got swept. And look what happened 2 years ago when they were up 3-1. When they were up, they had to decide with one more game. They lost to the Capitals
right.
because Cooper refused to adjust.
Plus, if you look at like the Penguins, they hadn't been able to beat the New York Rangers in 2 straight playoff matchups in 2015 and 2016. And then they came back and beat them in 5 games in 2016 on their way to winning.
And then Ottawa beat them the next year in 2017.
Huh?
Yeah, Ottawa beat the Rangers in 2017 to make it to the
Conference finals.
conference finals.
Right. And then, of course, the year after that, Ottawa just fell off the map. But
Thank you, Gene.
yeah,
You also-
but I love the 2 battles of Canada that we have in this proposed bracket. You have Calgary, Winnipeg, and then you have Edmonton.
I would have actually preferred it be Calgary versus Edmonton because
Battle of Alberta.
That has produced some of the best fighting.
Ain't gonna happen.
No, it'll never happen. But
You know
Because-
that the Calgary Flames were originally based in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
no, that was the Winnipeg Jets.
No, wait, yeah.
They were, before they moved to Calgary, they were actually the Atlanta Flames. And then,
Oh, okay.
they moved to Calgary. And then the NHL tried to put a team back in Atlanta, the Thrashers, but then they moved to Winnipeg and became the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know why the NHL can't survive in Atlanta, but somehow the NHL can survive in Florida with the Panthers,
And
Tampa
the
Bay, Nashville, and Vegas,
and Carolina. And don't forget about the 3 California teams, San Jose, Anaheim, and Los Angeles.
Correct.
I mean, the Pacific Division is way easier to be in, and that's why I say that when Arizona moves to the Central, it's gonna be a lot harder for them.
Right.
Right, but I think that like over the past few years, the Canada teams have just dominated the Pacific.
Yeah, but they
Right,
can't win a cup.
For some reason, when it comes to the playoffs, they can't do anything. When was the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup?
Not in a while.
1993.
19 what?
93 with the Montreal Canadiens.
Huh.
Yep.
Because
And then the next year, the whatchamacallits, the Vancouver Canucks lost to the New York Rangers and rioted.
you mean the Boston Bruins?
No,
Yep.
no, 1994.
No, the fans of Vancouver rioted after losing a Game 7.
Oh, you're right. Well, they also rioted after Game 7 against Boston.
in
Yeah,
2011, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Vancouver's been in the Cup final twice. You've had
And rioted twice, and thus they sucked twice.
Right.
Winnipeg has never been to a Cup final. Neither
They
Winnipeg.
almost did. They almost did 2 years ago.
Yep, they almost did, but no.
But no,
Vegas happened.
Ottawa was in the Cup
what
final.
happens in Vegas, you'll remember for the rest of your life.
Right. Ottawa was in the Cup final in 2007, but
And lost
they
to
lost
Disney.
in how many games?
I want to say it was 6, but I don't exactly know. But it was to a team that was created and owned by Disney.
Right.
So you can say that Disney has more rings than half the NHL's teams.
Right, because in 2007, the Ducks beat the Senators. In 2006, the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Edmonton Oilers.
And then in 2008 and 2009, it was the rematches of the century.
Yes.
Wings versus Pens and Pens versus Wings.
Have you noticed that, which you bring up our next topic, so thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Have you noticed that in general, when 2 teams meet each other in the championship round, usually the second time they play each other is better than the first? Have you noticed that?
I
the sequel's
definitely
always
have
better?
noticed that.
Yeah. Although the one exception I can make to that statement is the 2013 finals and the 2014 finals. Because in the 2013 NBA finals, the Miami Heat won that series in 7 games, mostly because Chris Bosh got the rebound and kicked it out to Ray Allen for the three-pointer.
Ray Allen, the savior of LeBron's career.
As well, you can include Kyrie Irving in that statement too.
Yeah, but he's a flat earther.
But does it matter? Basketball's a team game.
That's true. But anyway, so the Spurs turned around in 2014 and flat out dominated Miami. That
was a 6-game series, right?
5.
Really? I thought LeBron's only 5-game series was 2012 against
Okay.
At that point it was 2012 against the Thunder.
No. In 2014, the Spurs blasted the Miami Heat in 5 games. But, in 2008, the Celtics and Lakers had a great finals matchup. 2010 was even better.
And we have to bring it up. We have to bring it up because you're talking about the second time being better than the first.
Oh, you mean 2015 and 2016?
Yes, I do.
I would argue that 2015, 2016 was pretty much the same. Was pretty much the same thing comparatively.
Well,
2016 it went to a full 7 games, and the Cavs came all the way back from down 3-1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was exciting. But I would have argued that 2015 would have been made more exciting if Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving were still on the court instead of being injured.
Oh, if we had Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, LeBron would have 4 rings.
Right. We
would have had a back, and Stephen Curry wouldn't have even been relevant.
Right. Well, I shouldn't say we know, but most experts and fans like us agree that if the Cavaliers were fully healthy,
Screw you, Kelly Olynyk.
Won that.
It would have been an interesting series to say the least.
Yes.
So let's just blame it all on Kelly Olynyk because he's the one who took Kevin Love out.
Yes. I'm still mad at the NBA because they took down their digital content. And as you know, I'm a fan of going back and
I had the 2016 Cavs champions film.
Well, no, I have that, but I want to be able to go onto iTunes and purchase all of the 2016 NBA playoffs and tell the complete story of how we got from, game 1 of the first round between the Cavaliers and Pistons to game 7 of the first round between the Raptors and the Pacers, all the way to game 7 between the Cavaliers and Warriors and everything in between that. So that's why I'm saying I'm upset at the NBA for taking down their content. But it's also my fault because I should have, taken advantage of the opportunity while it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually written letters to the NBA about it. I even tried calling the NBA. Didn't really get me anywhere.
Yeah, you pretty much got to the reception and you're like, we'll think about it, then you got hung up.
We'll let you speak to a representative in about how long are you still alive?
Actually, I did get to speak to someone, but she didn't really help me because all she said was, if you want to watch, we might not have all the games you're looking for, but you can go on to the NBA app and look at the classic games that are available there. So that's what I did, and none of the games I wanted were available.
They should just have a digital archive so they can make more money off people wanting to watch all the games.
Right.
You get an exclusive pass for I don't know, maybe $10 a month. Not $10 a month, it's $7 a month.
Yeah. Well,
there's a premium where it's hey, if you get this premium, you get to watch live events too.
Well, they do have NBA League Pass.
Yeah, but there's I would bet to current games if I.
Yeah. Well, right now what the NBA is actually doing is since games are not happening, they're actually allowing you to go onto the NBA app and watch any game you want from the current season.
Did you try and watch the
It's
game
just-
that we were at to see if you could find us?
Oh, the game against New Orleans? No, I did not.
No, because the court goes from side to side. We were like,
Colin, I can't
on the
believe we missed
no, no,
that
no, no.
block
We were
by,
the-
by
yeah, but that's a jumbotron recorded like inside the stadium, not NBA style.
Yeah.
Right, but I can't believe we missed that block by Sexton while we were getting those cookies and ice cream.
I don't remember what you're talking about, but anyway.
Okay.
Colin Sexton
Oh yeah,
blocked
oh yeah.
a dunk by Zion Williamson at that game.
Oh,
And Colin and I missed it.
yeah,
Yeah,
but New Orleans won.
Yeah. It's not.
No.
It's a game to
Yeah.
forget.
I have never been to a Cavs game where the Cavs have won.
Oh, I've been
Have.
to plenty of
Both-
Cavs games where they
Both Cavs games I've been to
In fact,
were
in fact,
losses.
Josh, you and I have been to that game before. Remember, we got those tickets down on the floor. That
What?
okay? So remember when we played against the Bulls?
Yes! Now I know what you're talking about. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're talking about with the ASC.
yeah.
Oh, I remember that game.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had
I was
Right.
just so thankful that we got those tickets last so that we could just enjoy it the most.
Oh, I know.
And anyone who like came to the game with us, I mean that's just called strategy.
Yeah. I mean,
I had to work that day, okay?
Oh, well, okay.
anyway.
I have a job.
Anyway.
Anyway, we're getting a little off topic, boys.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so now let's introduce this last topic with
Yeah.
something that me and Josh and Colin and a couple others have talked about many times. Now,
Okay.
if you know us, you know that we have multiple favorite hockey teams. And all those hockey teams have multiple legendary players throughout their history. What if we can make a lineup of our three favorite non-Columbus Blue Jackets teams using all of their legends?
Oh, you're
I'm
going
gonna-
this
I'm gonna
now?
put a disclaimer for here. I only chose my favorite team out of like what I think the best team possible would be. I don't like to say I have a favorite team because I mean I just love the sport. I don't have not like a person.
All right, so Josh, would you like to start us off?
Okay, so for St. Louis, I took Jordan Binnington as goalie, without the doubt. I have Tarasenko on defense. Not sure who my other defenseman would be right off the top of my head. Maybe, I think Brett Hall was a defenseman.
If not him, then you could have Scott Stevens or Chris Pronger.
Yeah, I would probably take Pronger. I want to have Tarasenko in there, but he plays the same position as Gretzky.
You can put him at winger.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So Tarasenko at wing, Gretzky at center, and then my other winger would be, who do I want from the Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues? Not O'Reilly.
What about Perron?
Yes, Perron. There you go.
All right. Now for me, I'm going with the Ottawa Senators. And at my goalie, I'm going to have Marvin the Martian himself, Patrick Lalime.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Craig Anderson.
No, Craig Anderson's he's not that good of a goalie. Well, I mean, he's decent. For my defenseman, I got to go with Zdeno Chara and Erik Karlsson. That would be a nightmare defensive line.
Despite Chara being known more as a Boston Bruin.
Yeah, did you know he was drafted by the Islanders?
Yes, I did.
All right, and then for my forwards, at right wing, I'm going to have Marian Hossa. At center, I'm going to have Radek Bonk. And at left wing, I'm going to have Danny Alfredson.
Okay. So you're not going to have anybody from the 2017 Eastern Conference Finals team. Got it.
Carlson.
Oh. But other than that, nobody.
No one else.
Okay. You're up, Colin.
Okay, so what I think the best team I think the best team is going to be Edmonton, and it would be a mixture of the current Edmonton Oilers and the 1988 Edmonton Oilers. So you could either have at left wing a Mark Messier or a Leon Draisaitl for left wing. And
I would go
the first
Messier.
two lines would be lethal on its own.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky. I don't know who would be the second line, but Wayne Gretzky alone plays a really good center. And the right wing, like I said, back to that first, like I said before with the left wing, right wing is the same story. You could have a Jari Kurri on the right wing or a Connor McDavid on the right wing. But for all intents and purposes, I would put Connor McDavid on the first line. And then the defense. This is where it's more 1988 Edmonton Oilers. With Paul Coffey, one of the defenseman that could also score, so sort of like a Sergio Ramos, and if you will, and then Kevin Lowe.
Okay.
Ooh, Kevin Lowe. Good choice.
And for goalie, maybe Grant Fuhr.
Ooh. Grant
Okay,
Fuhr is
now-
one of the greatest goalies.
See, it was them, or I was going to choose the Montreal Canadiens because they've had a history of great goalies and defensemen, especially goalies with Patrick Waugh, Robert Plant, and
Did the Habs also have Cujo at one point? Curtis
Maybe.
Joseph?
I think
I
so.
think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
I think they did have
you
Curtis
could build
Joseph.
it. You could build like a legitimate all-star team. Like you could like. It's crazy to think that Montreal Canadiens at one point had. You could build a depth chart of 3 of the most legendary goalies in NHL history.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said, but I digress. So I say Edmonton and that lineup on its own because the depth piece.
That'd be really good.
Okay. So we're going to start wrapping things up here. So
Mhm.
hopefully, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and this episode of the Sports Room. I will be bringing other guests onto the show in the future as well. But for now, I'm your host, Unger to the Max, signing off. You guys want to give your own sign-offs?
Of course. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like that, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm Steve Boss Gaming, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Just hope you enjoyed the video.
Cool. And